Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tina from Meinberg and happy to welcome you to the second edition of the 2-minute Q&A with Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Tina.
We are almost 2 weeks away from the NAB show in Las Vegas, which is the perfect time to get the last questions answered on timing and synchronization in the broadcast industry. Last time in the interview, we talked about general questions on synchronization in the broadcast industry. And we also talk about the coexistence of SDI and IP-based technologies in the industry. That's why my first question would be about how does this coexistence affect the studio synchronization infrastructure?
Usually you have two different scenarios. One is the greenfield approach, where you build up a new studio, a new facility from scratch. And then in this scenario, where you want to be future-proof, you usually would select IP-only enabled equipment. However, in a scenario where you are modernizing an already existing studio and just put some new equipment into it, and you want to still use legacy equipment in your studio, then you have a mixed approach of SDI and IP-enabled equipment. And for the synchronization part, you have systems that on the one hand can generate legacy signals like blackburst or tri-level sync, and also IP-based synchronization signals like PTP, the Precision Time Protocol. Mm-hmm. They can do it from the same box, and then you can have a scenario where you can synchronize both worlds at the same time.
Okay. You mentioned PTP. I think also a concern would be the distance. How viable is PTP over long distances?
When you are talking about a scenario when you want to synchronize a remote studio, for example, mm-hmm. that is not synchronized locally, but should be synchronized from the distance, so from a remote studio. In this case, it is possible. So PTP is designed to do that over long distances, but the accuracy is directly affected with the components, with the network equipment that is on this path. So if this would actually work, it's always a question of the equipment that is used, and we would recommend to test this long distance scenario, how good the synchronization can be transported. But if you choose the right components, then it's actually a good way to go.
Okay, I understand. I've got one last question for you, which is quite important. It's on security. How can an IP-based synchronization be secured?
Security is coming of more and more concern, of course. And you have several lines of defense for securing an IP-based scenario. So you have the physical separation of network parts, you have authorization mechanisms, and you have encryption mechanisms. Mm-hmm. When it comes to encryption, it's a little bit difficult for the PTP synchronization packets to do that, because the encryption would also impact the accuracy in this case. But the authorization of a trusted master, for example, that is something that is currently developed in the latest revision of the PTP standard, okay. And will come up in later versions of the already existing grandmaster and slave devices. And this is the current status of the development. It's going further.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for your time. The next time will be a special edition, because Daniel will answer your questions on synchronization in the broadcast industry. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. See you next time.